Hey Sid, how do you feel about the league's decision to start the Christmas break early, and what's your confidence level you guys will be able to play that game on the 27th in Boston?
Well, I understand. I mean, there's a lot of teams who've been in a position where they have to shut down. I would have preferred to keep playing for. You look at our 2 games and team situations. I think possibly could have kept playing, but it's not up to us. So try to make the most of the break here and get ready.
So with the way that things can kind of just change on a dime and kind of have been that way for the past 2 years, from a player's perspective, how much more difficult is it just to be a player now in the past 2 years than it had been previously in your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of things can change, and I think everybody's dealing with that, whether it's in hockey or any walk of life. I think that's just the way things are. So you just got to be ready to adjust and try to wrap your head around it, and figure out how to get through it.
I said you guys have had a lot of success on the road this year. Has there been any particular commitment to doing that, and what are the factors that have made that possible?
I don't know. I think we like to play a pretty simple game, regardless of whether it's at home or on the road, and you tend to do that a little more on the road. So maybe that has something to do with it, but I think for the most part, we don't try to be too flashy or fancy, and sometimes that kind of carries over to being a good thing when you're on the road.
Sid, nothing's official yet, but at best the Olympics seem questionable right now. Just what are your thoughts on that? And is there any consternation as far as if this still happens, as far as going over there with some of the COVID restrictions that might be in place, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. It doesn't look good right now, so that would obviously be disappointing. To have it happen a second time and not be able to be a part of it, but I think there's just so many what ifs right now. I don't want to get too caught up and looking too far ahead. The Olympics as a whole, I'm sure there's a lot of conversations being had about that. So we'll have to just see kind of what happens. But yeah, it's a lot of moving parts right now.
Well,
Seth just took my question, so I'll pivot and say, just what do you like about the way you guys have played the last 3 weeks, and how do you make sure that it's sustainable once you get guys like Rusty and Jake and Gino back?
I think just we've gotten contributions from everybody, I think, which is great. I mean, you need everybody chipping in, and their goaltending's been awesome. Jars and Casey have been really good, made some big saves throughout that time. So our penalty kills been solid. I think our power play's had its moments too. So it's getting a little bit more momentum. I think just we've been pretty solid. I think you look at last game and maybe a little bit Buffalo game probably could have been a little bit better. But other than that, I think we were pretty solid all the way through. So just trying to make sure we find that desperation, that urgency that we had for the last little while. When guys do come back, that's the biggest thing. It's not to exhale, just to keep going and make it easier on them coming in, and making sure that we still grab points. It's going to be a lot of hockey here in the second half, and some really important games, a lot of divisional games. So it's going to be another notch, I think, as far as the intensity and